industries. He's a social entrepreneur and lecturer on global development. He also has a passion for innovative and inclusive business models that can end extreme poverty, tackle climate change, and fix the broken supply chains that dominate business today. With Shane Riley in 2016, KILLIAN co-founded Moyee Coffee to bring specialty fair trade coffee from the forests and mountains of Ethiopia and Kenya to coffee fans across Ireland and the UK. We are enormously grateful to KILLIAN for taking the time to speak to us today. And I'm going to hand over to you. So hopefully you can share your screen and we'll be able to hear your presentation. Thanks, KILLIAN.
Excellent. Thank you, Suzanne. I hope you can all hear me. What I'll probably do is I might talk for a few minutes and just get some of the key points because as a man, I can only focus on one thing at a time. So I want to make sure I convey some of the key learnings that we have experienced here. And then I'll jump onto some slides and I might give you a look at sort of the look and feel, the style, the branding that we've done on our slides in the B2B market, and then head towards kind of social media. Yeah, thank you. Those previous presenters, there was some really great material in there and great advice in there and beautiful photos there from Rosabella, from the last speaker, and just showing you the power of social media. And what is lovely about it, and in COVID, is that, and I suppose we've all learned in the last 18 months, is we don't always have to be standing in a field, though as amazing as it would be to be standing in the fields of Rwanda or Burundi or Uganda or whatever. We can see photos and we can learn the story of our products and get a sense of them through the internet and social media. So Moyee Coffee, this is a sample of our bag. We're an ethical coffee company. Our ambition is to roast our coffee at origin, to see more value, more jobs, more income stay in coffee growing countries. So Ethiopia, Kenya are two where we're operational. We want to see our farmers not just earn a few cent more or euros more. We want to see our farmers get to a living income. And as we all know, coffee farmers work so hard and they earn so little. And that's not something that's commonly known amongst consumers. And thirdly, we want to tackle the climate crisis and reverse some of the damage that the coffee industry has created in terms of chemicals or deforestation. So our three targets, we talk about factories. We want to move the roasting from Europe and America to the coffee belt. We talk about farmers. We want to see those farmers earn a living income. And we talk about the forests or the habitats. We want to see coffee grown in forests. In the likes of Ethiopia, we promote forest grown coffee. In Kenya, we promote chemical-free coffee. So we're in both countries, we're working with farmers to practice organic methods, composting, pruning, all of that stuff. So in essence, and the challenge for social media is the message. We feel that coffee as a global industry is broken. It's the world's favorite drink. We drink 2 billion cups of coffee every day. And yet there are millions of 90% of coffee farmers live on less than $2 a day. We know that across the coffee belt, from South America to Africa, right over towards Indonesia, coffee farmers work hard and they scrape a living, and many of them live in poverty. So coffee is broken because of the business model around it. We are attempting to have an ethical product. One thing I've learned working in coffee in the last 6 years, or in a global value chain, is that your supply chain is your brand. So we can have a nice pink bag. I can be here in Ireland. We can produce nice graphics, have a lovely, beautiful website. We can talk things up on our bag. But the reality is, if in our supply chain, if people are living in poverty, if there's child labor, if there's chemicals, any of the negative externalities, they are part of us. We cannot disown them. A number of years ago, I think it was Starbucks, there was, a crisis where within the Starbucks value chain, it was identified that in South America, there was child labor and there was poor prices being paid to farmers. And Starbucks claimed, no, that's not us. That was the company we bought from, and they happened to do shady practices, and we had no control over their behavior. Unfortunately, if you are a modern brand whether your customers are in Kenya or in Ethiopia or in Amsterdam, Dublin, or New York, they expect you to have ownership on the full journey of what got here. So in this case, this plastic bag came from China, the coffee beans came from Ethiopia. We need to be on top of that story, and we need to own that. And I think that's true for all of us as brands. It's about responsibility. You don't have to have everything perfect. I don't think any of us are able to end poverty amongst farmers overnight or reverse deforestation overnight, but we can certainly identify, or within our brand, tell the story or explain our ambitions to how we intend to fix incomes for farmers, how we intend to replant trees, how we, by our business, are hoping to change things. So one last thing before I jump into the slides is, we as a company here, when we set up Moyee in Ireland about 5 or 6 years ago, we developed the company in 3 departments. We have a sales department. Obviously, we need to sell coffee. We have an operations department. Obviously, we need to grow and source and roast and bag and deliver coffee. So that's the logistics, really. And in some cases, you might be delivering your coffee right down to the end user, the consumer at home drinking coffee in their kitchen, or you might just be delivering the coffee down to the roaster or the international buyer or the supermarket. So we've sales, we've operations, and thirdly, we've communications. And that is effectively where we are. It's storytelling. It's us explaining our mission, explaining the impact we've achieved to date, and telling the full story of the journey of our coffee beans. But as some of the previous speakers said, doing it in a way that we're adding value to the consumer, educating them, entertaining them, allowing them learn more about where their coffee comes from so that they can enjoy their coffee more. So let me just see if I can share my screen. Let's go with this and share now. Are you all able to see my screen there? Photo.
Yes, thank you.
One of our farmers, one of the female farmers in rural Ethiopia at the washing station. So in the next couple of slides, you'll probably see, can I get this to work? Sorry, folks. No, there we go. So this is sort of you'll get a sense of the style of our look and feel. When we set up Moyee Coffee in Ireland about 6 years ago, we realized that Irish consumers, Dublin is, just this morning they announced, Dublin is the second most popular city, the second highest consumption of coffee in Europe, and most enthusiastic city. So Amsterdam is the capital and Dublin comes in at second place. So what we discovered is most coffee consumers drink 21 cups of coffee a week. And when we started the business, we had no money. We had a blank piece of paper. Our partners in Ethiopia and the Netherlands were willing to give us a line of credit to send us beans. So we tried to figure out, okay, how can we sell coffee to Irish consumers? They drink 21 cups of coffee a week. We discovered they drink 15 of those cups when they are in the office. So for the first, we'll say 4 to 5 years of our business, we just decided to approach big companies, tech companies like Google and Facebook, Groupon, IBM, and try they are companies where employees get free cups of coffee at work. They drink 3 cups a day. There's a machine in the kitchen that gets filled up with beans. We endeavored to make sure those beans were Moyee. So this is some of the material we used. It was quite bright colored. We explained so for the businesses, for us to communicate, there's 3 ways we can communicate. The bag itself, or if you meet somebody in person. So I call this face-to-face communication. You either meet a member of the Moyee family or you meet the bag. And in both cases, we can explain passion. We can explain our mission. On our bag, we have kind of details there. We highlight some of our values, and we describe on the back of the bag our impact and our journey or our ambition. So you can communicate face-to-face. You can communicate through traditional media, the newspapers and radio interviews, which is tough enough to do. But we have over the years got a little bit of airtime on radio and got some newspaper articles. And then obviously, as we know here, social media, you've got much more power because you can curate your photos, videos. You can decide what content is up there. The challenge with social media is about getting in front of your audience. So in the first 5 years for us selling into offices, social media was not relevant. So it's really important to know who your audience is and is social media for them. So for example, if yours is a consumer, then yeah, maybe Facebook is the audience. But if your consumer is a roasting company, then maybe LinkedIn or Instagram is the question to ask is what social media channels or where does your customer hang out? But yeah, in the early days, we were looking at, we didn't really need online communications. We would go in, meet our customers, we'd go into their office, we'd bring a machine, we would give them a sample, make them a cup of coffee, and on a computer with a few slides, we'd show them, we'd explain the problem with coffee, we'd explain why Moyee is different. Credibility, which is somebody mentioned earlier on about having customer reviews. At the top here, you can see all of the logos of the companies that we've secured. I think that's a big plus with social media, is it gives you an opportunity to show off your great product, but also to name drop the names of the great companies who are already drinking your coffee, or to showcase, to show off the things that other people are saying about your customer. So for example, the example there that the previous speaker gave about Alabama, even though that person in Alabama is a complete stranger to me, if I read that review, they found that online when we read reviews, yes, from total strangers, but when we read and trust reviews online, we believe it as much as we would believe if our brother or best friend was recommending a coffee. So we incorporate that into our website, we incorporate it into our social posts, getting, we call them points of credibility, whether it's 5 stars from newspapers who've written about us, tech companies who are drinking our coffee, or customers of all shapes and sizes saying how great our coffee is or how they love our service. That stuff makes a big difference. But yeah, so this was kind of some of the slide where we were sharing. As you can see here, these photos here are examples of the posts that we do online. One key thing with social media is you need to be consistent. And that has been a challenge for us. And by consistent, I mean, if you're posting twice or 3 times a week, you need to post twice or 3 times a week every week. It can't be really busy for January and February, then dead for the next 3 or 4 months. Your social channels have to be consistent. So we've decided to, and the challenge we face in social media is to make the workload easy for us to manage, and also to be really simple in our communication. So what we've started to do is on a Monday, we will post a people shot. That could be one of our customers drinking a coffee. It could be, showcasing one of the team, whether that's myself or Shane or anyone within the Moyee family. Monday is about people. We will put a post about people. Wednesday, we will tell a story about our impact. So we might talk about our farmers or the forests and what we're doing, the impact we're achieving back in the coffee belt in Ethiopia or Kenya. Or we might talk about our roasting and describe how we roast in Ethiopia and what's involved in that process. So Wednesday for us is impact. And then finally on Friday, we will post close-up shots of the coffee. It is because at the end of the day, it's food and you want people to desire your product. So whether it's avocados or coffee or chocolate, you want people to see a photo of your product on the screen and really have that kind of urge to put their hands through the screen and grab the cup of coffee. Now, that's something on these photos you're seeing here. We're not seeing many of those coffee photos. So we are failing right now at we need more photos of yummy looking cups of coffee that look really appetizing and you just want to grab the mug and start, drinking the coffee. So for us, we try to simplify it. The reason for the Monday and the people shots is authenticity. It's important that people can see our face. They can see that we're real people. We're not some giant multinational. And that's true whether we are Irish people or our Ethiopian team members or Kenyan members, that they can connect and see, or our farmers for that matter. But it's important for us, I think, and for any of us, to showcase, to show those people as real human beings that we can all relate to. Show me the farmer and that he or she is smiling and is happy and gives me a sense. I saw a video this morning from a project in Malawi. I think it's MJ Coffee, and they keep sharing these videos from the farmers, and one of their folks on the ground is meeting a farmer, and he's asking the farmer, what are you doing here? Are you happy? And the farmer was very happy. He had some baby seedlings, and he was going to be planting them in a hectare of land. But he did respond, I am happy. So some of the questions was to really connect us as a human being with that person, with that coffee farmer or roaster or whoever else. We talked, again, this is just to show you some of the slides, the quality of the imagery we've used. We've definitely used these images on Instagram, but in our presentations, so those Friday shots I talked about, where you'd show a close-up of coffee, we might also show some of these guys roasting or tasting the coffee. You want to convey that our product is a quality, it's a high-end product, it is a cup of coffee that you as a consumer would desire. So I think in terms of communications, you're trying to build, highlight the impact that you want to achieve, highlight your mission and your purpose, highlight that your product is quality, and also prove that you are real people. You're not just some gigantic multinational, that there's actually human beings involved in this, because the internet things can get a little bit impersonal. And these kind of connect what I've found on my journey as developing an impact-driven company. Where I said earlier on, your value chain or your supply chain is your brand. Well, I think there's 4 things that any of us need to achieve as an impact-driven business. You need to be equal to what's out there in the market. So you need to be equal on price and equal on quality. Now, when I first started Moyee in Ireland, before that I set up, as I was learning, my own journey in coffee started on Mount Elgon in Uganda. I met all these coffee farmers who were earning very little, who were struggling, and I was working with an aid agency at the time and was wondering, why are these people poor? They are growing some of the world's best products. So in my research, I went to Uganda and Ethiopia, and I bought 12 different bags of coffee in the supermarkets. There were some great names, they had some great imagery. They, to me, were really exciting. They were African coffees. And I brought them back to Ireland, and I brought them into a barista school here, and I got them to taste the products for quality. And they rejected 10 of the 12 coffees. Now, my plan was, hey, maybe I could take some great African coffees that are roasted and grown and packaged, coffees that leave a lot of the profits with those African communities and with farmers, that could help those communities to prosper through trade, not international aid. And unfortunately, when I brought those bags to the consumers, to the baristas in Dublin, they rejected 10 of the 12. The quality wasn't good enough. So a challenge is, we need to be able to compete on price here in the market, wherever your customer is. We need to compete on quality. And those two are a given. If you do not compete on quality, you won't get bought a second time. If you do not compete on price, people will only buy you at Christmas when they have a bit of extra money, but week on week, they won't buy you. The third challenge is we need to be, so those two are a given. You have to be at the game. You have to have those two secured to be at the game. The third thing is people. Your product needs to be good for people at every step along the way. And good for planet at every step along the way. So for me, the 4 pillars of an impact-driven, of a 21st century brand are price, quality, people, and planet. And in the case of Starbucks and that example, and even with Nespresso, even though they have George Clooney, they also faced criticism 2 years ago around child labor in Central America. They were failing on people, and they were failing on planet. And I think over the last 100 years, I think a lot of the mainstream brands have failed on people and on planet. They're paying farmers pittance. They're facilitating the destruction of the environment. And the consumer is moving towards something like 60 or 70% of European consumers say they will support impact-driven companies. They will stay loyal. And for us, we've found the stickiness that our customers keep coming back month on month is because they know we're impact driven, and because we share those stories of the difference we're having. So I think those are the 4 things that we can all communicate online. It's that are, we can compete on price, but nobody really wants to talk about price. We absolutely can compete on quality. We're delivering quality product. We're good for people at every step in our journey, and we're good for planet in every step in our journey. So us, for I think from this, maybe shifting towards online, for about 4 years, we grew our business. We were selling coffee into offices around Dublin, and the office workers were drinking our coffee, and they stayed really loyal to us because of our impact. When we explained to them the difference we were making for people and planet, that differentiated us from any other coffee company out there. There was other coffee companies that were even better on quality and even a little bit cheaper on price, but people stayed with us, and they bought from us when we were able to tell our story and prove our supply chain. You know, our ambitions were good for people on planet at every step along the journey. So for us, there was 3 elements there. I think I believe that the motive of an impact-driven business is to find profitable solutions to the problems people on our planet face. It's the second one is that your supply chain is your brand, so every step. And I think that third part about being authentic and telling your story, that incorporates explain where you're facing dilemmas or challenges, where you aren't, where you still have work to do. It's okay for customers to know that you're on a journey. It's going to take us 10 years to fix coffee with the farmers and the communities where we are. It's a long game. It's going to take time. I'll just run through some slides here that I think you might enjoy. This was a map showing the kind of top cities in Europe, which ones are the most coffee crazy. Dublin comes in at number 2. We have more coffee shops per population than any other city in Europe, bar Amsterdam. This, as many of you know, is the awful situation of really bad prices for coffee farmers on our planet. And over the last 20, 30 years, it has gone from good to bad. So that is a real challenge for many of the farming communities we're all working with. We use this, sometimes we highlight that this is the difference. If Ethiopia roasted its own coffee, it could capture all of this. It could capture a couple of extra billion euro or $1 billion of value to keep local in the Ethiopian economy. This, in terms of impact, we give data, and we're trying to improve our storytelling on this. And that's those Wednesday posts. We want to, like a lie detector. So on the very left here, what you see, the carbon footprint, that's our ecological impact. In the middle there is our economic impact. And then on the right is our social impact. So from an ecological point of view, it's a fairly young journey, but we're able to say, look, each kilo of our coffee produces 5.4 kilos of carbon, of CO2. Normal coffee produces about 9 kilos. So we're able to put a number on it. The carbon surplus comes from the forests that we're protecting, and the fact that a lot of our coffee is grown in the shade. And you see there 373. We're trying to put real numbers. In terms of the second rocket that you see, we talk about 61 jobs supported in our roasteries. We talk about selling 61,000 kilos of roasted. So we want to put an actual value. We say that there's 575,000 euro value left at origin, versus, when we started, it was just 19,000. So we're trying to show with real numbers the impact. So not greenwashing, not vaguely, not just showing photos of smiling farmers or smiling roasters, but actual numbers. As we say, show me the money, kind of a lie detector. And again, this has limited ability, but showing that 12.3 million cups of coffee were sold in Europe, that's awareness. That's I'm not saying it's 12.3 million people, but it's a lot of people who are drinking from these bags and getting to learn about the Moyee story, learn that coffee is broken, and learn that we globally, or they as a consumer, should start to drink more coffee that is better for, that is either roasted at origin or that delivers more to the people in coffee growing countries. So I'd like to think that the work we're doing will open the roads here in Europe for more African roasted coffees and coffees that are coming from across the coffee belt, that are the finished product is grown and roasted and packaged in those countries, for those products and those brands to be consumed in in Europe. Because, for example, wine, like the French grow grapes, they bottle their wine. There is no way on God's earth that the French farmers would allow Irish people to buy wine or buy grapes and make wine and then start selling Irish wine. There would be war between France and Ireland over that. The French are very protective, and rightly so. They make a great product. But that's how, in my opinion, that's how coffee should be. I think the Ethiopians and the Kenyans and Rwandans should be roasting their own coffee, because we've got rockets here. It's not rocket science to roast coffee. It is an art, it is a craft. And as I said, given that example earlier on, it's easy to get it wrong. And we still fail. Sometimes we get batches of coffee from our roasters in Kenya and Ethiopia, and they get rejected. And that's a very costly mistake. But a lot of roasting, it involves computers, and you know, you can temperature control your ovens. So in theory, it should be possible to get the same, you know, roast your beans the same way every single time if you've got the right machinery. This is a couple of examples. So what happened of our posts. So the interesting thing for us is, yes, before COVID, we didn't really need social media. I was able to go in with a laptop, have a nice couple of colorful slides, and make some coffee, and spend 20 minutes with a team in a tech company, let them all enjoy a coffee at 10 o'clock in the morning, and then talk about the great things we're doing. And that was winning us loads and loads of business. But once COVID happened, back in March of last year, 85% of our sales was offices, coffee at work. And overnight, the Prime Minister here gave a press release, and he shut all of the offices. And the offices pretty much are not open. Since then, they're starting to open up this summer. But we've had 18 months and our business fell off a cliff. So back in March, we had to flip very fast and go online. We had to develop our web shop a bit better. So on the right-hand side of the screen here, you can see that's our homepage, Radically Good Coffee with Radical Impact. It's a photo of one of the girls who works at the washing station in Mizan. And then I have a screenshot below it. You see some of the coffees that are on our shop. So we have a very clean shop. And we started to really work our social media. And last year was very tough. But we have managed to grow. I think in February last year, before COVID, we made €1,000 online, and in the month of February. And by August of last year, we were generating €20,000 online. So today our online sales account for about 60% of our business here in Ireland. And yes, it's important for us to do the social posts and keep them consistent and add value to our customers. But at the end of the day, our activity online, the purpose of it is to generate awareness about Moyee, to build a tribe of a community of people who love our coffee and who will keep coming back to us. But most importantly, it's about delivering sales. It has to send people from Instagram over to our website, to go down to our web shop, click on the single origin or the double, pop it into a basket, and get their credit card out and buy coffee. And that's the thing we cannot lose in the number of posts we do. So for us, we've actually found, yes, it's important to have social media, but we found that social media really drives people to emails. They come to our website and they give us their email address. We now have 1,000 email addresses. And so on a Monday, Wednesday, Friday, we do our social posts. We'll do people, impact, coffee. But on a Sunday evening, we send out an email to our 1,000, the 1,000 people who have, the 1,000 fans, if you like, who've given us their email addresses. And those are the folks, when we send a good email on a Sunday, we could get a lift. You could see €500 in sales on a Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. And in this screen here, you can see on the second row, we have Moyee and Open Hive. And it's that second post in. It shows a honeycomb. We did a collaboration with this local small honey company, and we talked, and they gave a 15%. You know, we're fans of Open Hive. We love their honey. We love what they do. They love our coffee. We did a nice story in a collaboration, and that gave us a real bump in sales on that weekend. And so for us, those Sunday emails. The other one down the bottom, we did a garage sale where for Father's Day we had a load of brewing gear that we'd had in our shelves for ages. We needed to get rid of some of it, so we dropped the prices, and we did a garage sale on that post, but also on the email. And again, we got a boost, maybe 1,500 euro in sales and it cleared out some stock that we'd wanted to get rid of. The same down here beside it, you see the Fairchain micro lot. When we sent the email out and told people about this great micro lot, it's kind of a one-off, only available this month, we got loads of people going to the site and selling. And so you can see, as the previous speakers mentioned, having professional photography is really good. Having a consistency is really good. Absolutely responding to when people message you, you got to write back and get those conversations going and be polite and be informative. We also have Google reviews. There's a thing you can do when somebody buys your product, they can give you a review on Google. We really pride ourselves in delivering good service. So if somebody, emails us or sends us a message saying they bought a product and they didn't get it, we don't go and get into a debate with them of whether the product is lost or it's sitting outside their house. Sometimes we check with them. We found out that, hey, your sister took the bag in, she met the postman this morning, and it gets resolved. But if there's no resolution, if the product is definitely lost, I will get in a car and I will drive to their house at nighttime. Or if somebody says, hey, I still haven't received that delivery and I want to give it as a present to my mother tomorrow, I will go there. Because for us, a golden rule is we never want to see our customers without coffee. And as a result, we have 100 reviews, 5-star reviews on Google. And we can then take them and put them as snapshots onto our Instagram or onto our website and prove they are credibility points that prove that we are reliable, that our product is great. And I'm not sure if I had it there. Yeah, so they just give that other, when you're in the world of online, people don't know you, they might never have met you, they might never meet you. So it's really important to give that person as much confidence and credibility that you're legitimate, that you're not going to steal their money, that the product you're delivering is as good as you say it is. So having those third-party validations is really, really powerful, whether it's from newspapers, from customers, from the brands that you work with, from partners you work with, or international organizations. If people recognize the brand, that's a great validation to have in terms of your product. I think that's all I've got. I hope that I've covered there. As I say, it's a little bit about our journey. I'd be very happy to take any questions or share my slides with you guys. And if there's anything, or even connect with via email, Suzanne and Nicole and stuff, you might share my contact details. But yeah, thank you for listening to me, and I hope that was of value to you today.